Good morning. We're now going to look at verse 10 of chapter 1 of the Sefer Yetzirah, the ancient Jewish book of creation. So, again, let me share my screen. Okay, and here we go, Sefer Yetzirah 1:10. As usual, I've got the Hebrew on top, the late Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan's translation next, and then my translation following that. So Rabbi Kaplan translated this as 2, breath from breath. With it he engraved and carved 22 foundation letters, 3 mothers, 7 doubles, and 12 elementals, and 1 breath is from them. In my translation, 2, spirit breath from spirit breath. With it, it decreed and shaped 22 letters of foundation, 3 mothers, and 7 doubles, 12 plain, and 1 spirit breath within them. As a reminder, the verse preceding this one and the ones that follow, they're giving the original enumeration of the meanings of the 10 sefirot, the 10 declarations that created our universe. Okay, moving on to the next slide. When we read breath from breath, we're being told 2 things. First, we're seeing the first pair of opposites come into being. And second, the separation is entirely fictitious, a mental creation, if you will. It is like one of us looking at a glass of water and saying that we separate the upper water from the lower water. There is no separation in reality. Furthermore, because it says breath from breath, this lets us know that the observed world is no different from the observer. In our minds, we try to make the distinction between physical and spiritual, but ultimately there's only spirit. Thus, the first breath is that which creates, and the second breath, which really is no different from the first, is the so-called physical world that is created. Okay. Now, the word decree refers to something from nothing creation. It is an act of will, such as when we will ourselves to solve a problem or compose a song on a particular day. On the other hand, shape refers to something from something creation. Shaping involves taking something that is already there and working it over and over again until it feels just right. In other versions of the Sefer Yetzirah, the Hebrew words that I've translated as decreed and shaped are often rendered instead as engraved and carved. I should say in other translations rather than other versions. Okay, but nonetheless, I feel that my translation more accurately captures the intent of the text. Furthermore, in ancient times, the decree of the king was literally engraved in stone. So it is no surprise that a single Hebrew word can carry both meanings. However, even though I prefer the translation of decreed to engraved, this latter translation does find meaning in later Kabbalah in the concept of zimzum, the notion that God had to contract his essence in order to create a space in which the world could exist. Similarly, in engraving, it is the space that is created that defines the letter. And finally, in the passage above, decreeing and shaping result in the 22 letters of the alphabet from which all else will be created. However, within everything, there is still only the original spirit. All our separation to multiplicity is ultimately only an illusion. Okay, now let me also mention that these 22 letters of the alphabet from which all else is created, well, this is kind of analogous to fundamental particles in physics or prime numbers that are used to create other counting numbers in mathematics. With 22 letters, we create words, and with words, we create all our concepts and all our names for those things that we can see. Okay, and let's see. I'm going to go back one slide. This concept of the Zimzum, it's usually thought of as God hollowing out a space, just like engraving, and removing his essence from that space so it doesn't overwhelm creation. Let me give you a notion of how this actually works in practice, in my opinion. If you go back to Genesis, read the creation story, what do you have? You have God separating one thing from another, God creating boundaries to separate heaven from earth, land from sea, this from that. It's this creation of boundaries that is the Zimzum, the contraction. See? Once you create that boundary, you have taken the infinite and made it finite. You've taken that which is unlimited and made it limited. So, in my opinion, that is the real Zimzum, the real contraction. It happens when we begin to make separations and distinctions between things and when we create boundaries. Okay, I'll stop sharing now. And that's it for today. So next time I'll continue with verse 11 of chapter 1. And in the meantime, shalom, and walk this world in peace and wholeness.